Hello and good evening, everyone. I'm really excited for us to get into tonight's topic, living through layoffs at 7 o'clock. So I want to make sure we get started on time and make sure that the folks who are listening to the recording after this get the full value of the conversation. It's still January, and so many companies have already announced layoffs, whether it's Microsoft, Wayfair, Macy's, Riot Games, Google, the list of companies that have announced layoffs so far, it goes on and on. And those are the only ones that have hit the news. There are so many companies that may not get the same press of a Meta or a Microsoft or a Google who may be laying off their employees at the start of the year. And what we've seen in the news is there's a lot of conversation about what this means for the company, what this means for their image, what that means for their profitability, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of focus on what it means for the company. And I wanted to change the conversation tonight to speak to those who may be impacted or helping others who may be impacted through this process and talk to those who are the names, the faces, the people behind these job cuts. And what I wanted to talk about tonight when it comes to actually living through layoffs is the steps that you can take to actually manage through this process. You may, if this is your first layoff, or even if you've been laid off before, you may be feeling overwhelmed and not sure where to turn next. And so it's really important to at least have a game plan or at least have some thought process or strategy to manage through the next several weeks, months. Maybe it's just a week, however long you may be unemployed, but you need to have at least a game plan and something to think about as you go through this process. So I wanted to give 10 steps and 10, or what I would call 10 actions for you to take as you're living through the layoffs. It's not easy. It's not an overnight thing for you to just get over. And so I wanted to provide tangible things that you can take with you to internalize and then go out in action. So when it comes to layoffs, the first thing that's really important is that you take time to actually acknowledge your feelings. There's this immediate urge to go and hop into the job search, but it's really, really important to allow yourself to feel through this process. You may be feeling upset, angry, confused, betrayed, whatever word may come to mind. But no matter how you feel, it's important for you to take the time to feel. Because if you want to move through this process with any sense of clarity and awareness and being able to focus wholly on what's coming for you next, you've got to take the time to let what has happened to you sink in, take the time to feel the feelings, experience them, and then move forward. And if it means that you have to get professional help to work through that, there's nothing wrong with that. And if your thoughts are, well, I just lost my job, I can't afford to go and hire or go and book a therapist, there are places that offer low to no cost mental health and wellness counseling services and therapy services. So if that's a step that you need to take, please do take that time up front so that you can move through the process with some clarity. And it may be something that you continue even as you get through the next action steps towards getting your new job. The second thing is taking the time to understand your benefits. Understand what your company is offering you, whether it's severance, whether there's some sort of insurance coverage that they will cover for a period of time and then you have to pick up on your own. When does your final check come in? Are you eligible for employment? Part of knowing the benefits and understanding the benefits can provide you with a sense of ease or understanding or comfort because you'll actually know, okay, this is what I will have access to. This is when, this is the timing. And so it gives you a little bit more of certainty in a process where you feel like there is no certainty at all. So taking the time to understand what's available to you and when you will have access to it can give you some comfort, but also your family. If you have a spouse, a partner, or if you just have children, whatever it might be, it's important for you to Understand what's available to you so that you can provide comfort to them as well. And one key point when it comes to knowing your benefits, if you have the opportunity to negotiate the terms of your layoff, or downsizing in the company, if you have the opportunity to negotiate your package, do so. Don't be afraid to speak up. If they're the ones telling you to exit the organization, and an opportunity for negotiation is on the table, take it, because at the end of the day, you've got to provide for yourself and your family. And there's no guarantee as to how long you may be without work. And so anything that you can get up front, anything that you can get to kind of prolong the financial support to your family is critical. Number three, speaking of financial support, it's important for you to file for unemployment if it's possible and it's something that's available to you. Even if you've been able to save something on your own, you still want to make sure that if there's any place for you to get access to benefits during this time period, that you file and you get access. Again, because you're not sure of how long this period of unemployment, how long it will be, how the job market will change. You don't have a crystal ball to really see the future. So it's important for you to file and get access to the benefits that are available to you. And one of the things that I wanted to add is that I don't want to sound like a financial guru, but this is a really good time for you to assess your benefits. And the reason why it's important or assess your budget and your spending plan, not benefits. The reason why it's important for you to actually take the time to assess your budget and what you have in your bank account and the flows in and out of your accounts is it also helps you as you're starting to, whether it's negotiate the severance, whether it's dealing with the unemployment. You want to see, okay, well, what do I already have? What do I have to spend every month? What are my commitments? Is there any place that I can trim or cut back? And this is an opportunity for you to really make sure that you have a clear game plan. Part of what happens with layoffs is that there's some anxiety that comes with the process from a financial standpoint. But the more that you can do up front, the more that you can look at your finances head on and see where you are, it helps to take some of the confusion and fog out of the process so that you can focus your efforts on finding your next opportunity versus just trying to figure out, well, how much money do I have coming in? And if you're continuing to join the stream, I would love for you to drop some comments or questions that I can answer for you. Thank you so much for joining this evening. Really excited for you to be here. So let's move on to point number 4. So thus far, we've talked about taking time to acknowledge your feelings in this process, feel them up front, know your benefits, and then filing for unemployment and getting to understand your financial situation and your budget. The next really important topic, if you don't listen to anything else, if you don't listen to the financial advice, take the time to tap into your network. Even if you haven't dusted off your resume just yet, you're still trying to go through the process. Make sure that you're taking time to get in with your network, picking up the phone and talking to some folks. The reason why is that this is the time for you to ask for help. The relationships that you've been nurturing, hopefully, this is the time to actually reap the benefits from those relationships. So this is not the time to be bashful in terms of asking for help and having conversations with people that maybe your peers, old colleagues, old mentors, old bosses, whatever it might be. This is the time to tap into the network. And it may not be that you have, a resume or something to hand them, but at least understanding what may be available, what conversations they can start for you, what doors they can open, if there are any introductions that they can make, even if they can provide insight into the industry or into a new industry that they may be in that you've considered before. Any piece of information or support that your network can give you, you want to make sure that you're able to take advantage. And the truth is that these are people that have been in your circle and these are relationships that you're nurturing. these folks, they want to help you. They want to offer you support, especially in a difficult time like this. So don't feel bashful, don't feel prideful. This is the time for you to say, "Hey, I need help. I've lost my employment. I'm looking for new opportunities. Would love to further have this discussion with you around opportunities that you may know may be available or coming available." And you may have to have discussions multiple times depending on how long you may be unemployed, and maybe you touch base up front, and then maybe a couple weeks go by, or a month or so goes by, and if you haven't found something, maybe you touch base with some of those resources again. But again, there's no shame in asking for help when you need it, so please tap into your network. One, and speaking about your network, something else that's really important is asking for recommendations from people that you had solid relationships with in your last organization. If you didn't leave on the best terms with your boss as part of the layoff, or people that were in your immediate team, but you have people in the organization who will root for you, who will speak highly of you accurately, these are the people that you want to go and ask for recommendations so they can speak up on your behalf when you need it. So really important to ask for those recommendations. So the fifth item is update your stuff. Update your stuff. If you have been following me for any period of time on any platform, you know that I will always talk about keeping your resume and LinkedIn profile up to date. But if you haven't done so, this is the time for you to really reflect on what's there, how long it hasn't been updated, how is any of the information still even relevant or accurate. This is the time for you to go ahead and make those updates. But what's really important is that if you feel like I don't know where to start, I don't know how to get going on my resume, what do I do? And that's the reason you've been putting it off. There's so many free resources now online, whether it's from universities, whether they're career coaches, recruiters, there's so many templates. There are so many things that are free for you to use right now, so you don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to try to figure this out on your own. There are many resources that are available to you. And as you're thinking about updating your resume, this is a really, really good time for you to reassess the work that you've been doing and see if it really aligns with your career goals. While losing your job is unfortunate and it's uncomfortable and it sucks. Let's be honest. It's there. The silver lining is that it offers you the time to reflect on the work that you've been doing. Perhaps you had just been going through the grind for months, years, decades, depending. You've just been going through that grind. This layoff may offer you the chance now to really take a step back and say, is this work actually something I want to do? When I think about my career goals, my long-term career goals, and what success looks like to me, does this kind of work even still align? Do these kind of companies that I've worked at previously, are those the environments that I really want to find myself in? And, so this may be the opportunity for you to find something that's better paying, in higher demand, and maybe more aligned with your values. So take time to think about the skills you enjoy using, the problems you enjoy solving, the people you like to work around, the results that you like to see come from your work. This is the time for you to spend, really going through that reflection process and the reflection period and getting that clarity, so that when you hop back into the job search, you can do it with a clear head and with a targeted strategy versus, scrolling endlessly on Indeed or LinkedIn and hitting the easy apply. And speaking of, thinking about your skills and values, this is a time to reflect on both your personal and professional values. Many times when we get into our careers, we're just kind of moving and going, and we're doing what the company asks of us, and we've kind of let some of our own values go to the wayside. And so this is the time for us to think about what's really important at this stage of your life and in your career. What are your deal breakers? Are there things that you were letting slide previously in your last role? And now, now it's like, hey, this is a deal breaker. I don't want to go back through that process. What boundaries do you need to set? I'm just thinking about, when I was working in the pandemic and, there was that time period where it just seemed like work and home, they just blended together because I didn't have boundaries when it came to my work. It was that I got up, I got into all my meetings, worked from 8 to 5, and then, I continued to work in the evening because there were no boundaries. So this is a perfect time to think about what's important to you in your next role. What kind of boundaries do you need to set and need to make sure the environment is okay with? This is a time for that level of reflection. And there's nothing wrong with your boundaries changing from what they had been. If you feel bad, like, well, before I used to do this and maybe I need to do this in my next job, no, you don't have to. The fact is that you getting this opportunity to restart can be a blessing for you to make sure that the next role you go into, it's a fit for you, not just you being a fit for the job. And so, so my computer's freezing here. And so one of the things that's also important is that while you're thinking about what's important to you, it may mean that you're pivoting into something completely different. It's a new industry and it's something that gets you closer to your career goals. So I wanted to mention that give yourself a little grace in the process to think and broaden your horizons a bit. Perhaps you've been doing sales forever, or project management, or whatever it might be, marketing. Perhaps you've been in one field for years. And as you're going through your reflection period, you're realizing that, man, I don't even really know if I want to stay in sales or if I want to stay in project management or marketing. I may want to go into something totally different, and give yourself the space to feel nervous about that, but that should be something that excites you as you shift into your job search. And number 6, don't burn yourself out on the new job search process. I know that there's I've got to find a job, I've got to eat, I've got to take care of my family. All of that's really important, but you don't want to hop into this job search and already be burning yourself out and you're exhausted, because you still have to work at the end of once you find the new role, you actually have to get up and go to work every day or log in, however the job is set up. So you don't want to burn yourself out on the process. You want to create what I call a manageable, realistic schedule for your search, which means that you can't search 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's just not feasible. So think about how much time you're able to spend during the day to make sure you can stay committed and engaged in the process, but not wear yourself down to the point where you're just giving up or you're begrudging the process. When it comes to job searching, it's not an overnight thing. Sure, there are those one-off success stories that you can hear about, but for most people, it's a bit of a grind to go through the job search process. There's applications, there's interviews, there's all these different parts to the process. And so you want to make sure that you're pacing yourself and you're not trying to rush and apply to 500 jobs a day and burning yourself out, because also you have to think about the quality of applications that you're putting in. A lot of these applications, they'll ask you for additional context and comments. And if you're just rushing through and barreling through, the application quality may also not be any good. And then you may find yourself doing the numbers game. But if you're not putting out quality applications, you may not start to get any sort of responses. And you may feel that, hey, no one's considering me, no one's looking at me. But are you truly investing the right amount of time on each application versus just trying to shoot through and have volume? And speaking of a schedule, number 7 is find an outlet. What can you do with the time that you have in addition to your job search process that will allow you to rebuild and maintain your mental and physical health? This going through a layoff, living through a layoff process is stressful, it's exhausting, it's overwhelming. And so it's important for you to find an outlet for you to put that energy somewhere. Whether it's that you start yoga, you start meditation, whatever it might be, something to help you rebuild that, and whatever the exercise schedule might be. I'm training for a marathon. Finding something that will allow you to put that energy to good use and rebuild your mental and physical health. The reason why health is so important is that the healthier you are, the better you execute in everything in life. When you're unhealthy, your mind is unclear, you're not able to be as productive, and you may feel yourself being sluggish as you go through this process. So, when you pay attention to your health and when you pay attention to how you're feeling, then you have a better chance of being successful and seeing better results in the process. So I'm asking you to not skate by when it comes to your health, whether it's your physical or mental health. Find an outlet to nurture that in this process. And number 8, one thing that you may not be thinking about is the silver lining that comes with this process. We talked a little bit about the time to reflect, but the other piece when you think about the silver lining is the time that this now gives you back in your day that you may not have had for a long period of time. Yes, you would want to be earning an income, but in the meantime, what benefits can you get out of this process? Are you able to spend more time with your loved ones? Are you able to pick up your kids or drop them off to school? Are you able to help them with homework? Are you able to spend more time with your spouse or your partner? Is there a book that you bought 2 years ago that you never had the chance to read? No matter what it may be, that think about the silver lining of the time that you're getting back in your day to spend with yourself and do the things that you enjoy and actually fills you up. And another thing that you may think about doing that could actually yield some income is picking up a hobby. It doesn't have to become a side hustle right out the gate, but perhaps it's a hobby, knitting, whatever it might be that you're interested in doing, painting, building things. Whatever hobby you may have, it may be something that you can pick up now and spend more time doing. It's yet another outlet, but it could be something that you monetize later and could potentially become an income stream for you. So think about the silver lining of how much time you now have back to in your day that you can control versus, the 8 hours or 9 hours or 10 hours that you were losing every day going to work. Again, we're getting back to that. But in the meantime, how can you make the best of those hours in the day before you get employed again? And number 9, get involved in your community. Another big way for you to shift your perspective and boost your energy is by helping others. When you think about what may be going on in the world around us, there's so much chaos and negative things that are happening. So if you have the opportunity to go and pour into your community, volunteer and give back, that's another way to truly shift your perspective and also see the silver lining in the process. And pro tip when it comes to getting involved in your community, one, you want to do it for the purpose of giving back, but also you never know if something can stem from the volunteer efforts, whether it's that you meet someone while you're volunteering, someone who may have an opportunity for you, somebody who may be well connected and can open the door or make an introduction for you, or maybe they're hiring in their organization and can place you themselves. Or it may be that through the volunteer efforts and with that organization, that there may be work that you can do even temporarily to continue to keep you in the groove of working, and it continues to keep experience on your resume, because I'm of the camp of whether or not you get paid is not everybody's business. And so if you're able to continue to get that experience on your resume while filling your day, that's another opportunity for you to again to work, to feel fulfilled, and until you find the thing that's really next for you and that next career opportunity. So I highly recommend getting involved, giving back to your community, and you can leverage that for either networking purposes and connections, or it may turn into a gig that you can work for a temporary period of time until you find the right fulfilling opportunity for you. And then lastly, number 10, give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace in this process. This process will not be easy. You may not get another role tomorrow, but I want you to know that doesn't mean that you're not qualified or that you're not valuable. You have so many skills, you have so many achievements, accomplishments, contributions. You have all of these things that are going to be attractive to an employer. But in the meantime, allow yourself to work through this process and don't put unreasonable expectations on yourself. You want to set a goal for when you want to be employed. You can set a timeline, but you don't want to set something so unreasonable that if you don't hit it, it may further impact your mental health during this time that's already difficult, already overwhelming, already stressful. So give yourself some grace in the process and leverage your support system, whether it's family members, friends, maybe they're old colleagues that you still have good relationships with. Continue to leverage your support system so you don't feel like you're going through this alone. Layoffs are unfortunately a part of business, and so you're not the only person going through it. And so there are people around you who can provide you with counsel, advice, and just give you the space to vent if you need it. Because again, if you're frustrated and you want to get it off your chest, there are people around you who are willing to listen. So I highly encourage you to give yourself some grace in this process. And so to quickly recap the 10 things, and then I want to share a quick bit of counsel for those who may be leaders. So, but first, if you're living through layoffs, here are 10 things that you can do and focus on in order to really manage through this process. First, take time to acknowledge your feelings and be in the moment, be present. Give yourself the grace and space to feel what you feel. Next, know your benefits, get clarity on your severance and whatever else is available to you from the company. And if you have the ability to negotiate your severance, please do so. Third, file for unemployment if possible, and make sure that you're also taking time to assess your budget and your spending plans, and making sure that you fully understand your financial picture as you're going to go through the next few months. Fourth, tap into your network. This is not a time for pride. This is not a time for shame. This is not a time for fear. Tap into the people around you. They likely are willing and ready to offer you any assistance as soon as you ask. Fifth, update your stuff. Update your resume, update your LinkedIn. But as you're going through that process, make sure you're reflecting on what work you actually like, what work you find interesting, what are your career goals, what are your values, and that's what you should be incorporating into your resume and your LinkedIn. You don't just have to continue looking for the work that you just left. Number 6, do not burn yourself out on the job search process. Give yourself the space to feel at the beginning, and then create a realistic schedule for when you can actually go through the search. Don't try to cram, 12 hours of job searching into a day. It's not necessary. Create a schedule that you can stick to, that you will not begrudge or give up on the process. Number 7, find an outlet for you to better maintain your physical and mental health, whether it's that you start to exercise or you find some other outlet, making sure that you're pouring into your mental and physical health so that you have the strength to continue through the process until you find your next opportunity. Number 8, think about the silver lining. Think about the time you're getting back in your day to spend with those you care about, to participate in activities you've had to forego, to do things that you've had to put on the back burner. Think about the silver lining that you can enjoy and take advantage of until you get your next opportunity. Read that book, spend time with your spouse, help your kids with their homework. Really take advantage of that time back. Number 9, get involved in your community. Doing volunteer work, one, it helps to shift your perspective. You're helping others, but also it can open doors for new relationships or new opportunities directly with the organizations you're serving. And then lastly, give yourself some grace. It's not an easy process. And it can be difficult and stressful and overwhelming all at the same time. You give yourself some grace to work through and manage through that process. You will come out on the other side. You just have to give yourself some grace. And I want to just take a second to speak to any leaders who may be listening, those who may be having to give layoff notices or they've already done that. It's really important for the leaders to lead with empathy and compassion. Losing a job, as we've talked about, is not easy. All these things we talked about, the people now have to consider and work through. So as you're having these conversations with your teams, whether those who are leaving or those who are remaining, it's important for you to show humanity in the process. Put down the cue cards, put down the talking points. It's important for you to show that this has an impact on you as well, and that and you're able to speak honestly and vulnerably with them, so they know that they're not just talking to a robot, but they know that they're talking to someone that actually cares about their people. And with that, I want to say thank you so much for joining us for tonight's stream. Before we wrap up, I've got two quick things to share. This Thursday, I will be going live again. Yes. And I'll be bringing on talented, amazing talent acquisition leader and content creator, Rona Pierce. So she's going to be joining us to talk about standing out in your job search this year. And so if you've experienced a layoff and you're wondering, okay, if I'm hopping back into the job search, how can I stand out? The conversation on Thursday will be just for you. It starts at 7 p.m. Central, so I would love to see you there. The link to sign up for the event is on my profile, so please do sign up. And then lastly, if there's anyone who is in a state of career transition and you've been looking for support to accelerate your results, I'm actually opening up slots to my signature coaching program starting March 1st. And so I'm looking forward to working with some clients who are ready to accelerate their progress and really step into their best career transition this year. So if that's something that may be of interest to you, I would love for you to DM me the word pivot, or you can email me at hello@rockcareer with pivot in the headline. So it's either DM me the word pivot or email me at hello@rockcareer.com with pivot in the headline. And so I want to say thank you so much for joining us this evening. I hope the conversation was helpful. And if it was, share it with a friend, repost it. Thank you so much, and hope to see you on Thursday when we talk about standing out in your job search.